In Metal Gear Solid Delta: Snake Eater, in 1964, during the Cold War, an agent codenamed Naked Snake, a young former Green Beret assigned to the CIA unit Fox, is sent to Selino-Yarsk, USSR, in an operation known as the Virtuous Mission. He's aided by fellow Fox members over his radio codec, or coder-decoder, Major Zero, commander of Fox and a former member of the British Special Air Service, or SAS, who provides mission advice and battle tactics, Paramedic, who provides medical information and advice on flora and fauna, the Boss, his former mentor and co-founder of the Fox unit, and SIGINT, or Signals Intelligence, who provides weapon and equipment information. Snake's tasked with rescuing Soviet rocket scientist Dr. Nikolai Sokolov, who was forced to use his skills to become a prominent weapons developer, causing his defection to the United States 2 years earlier, until the Russians forced the US government to return him in order to end the Cuban Missile Crisis. Zero informs Snake that following his return to the USSR, the CIA received intel that Sokolov was placed in charge of a secret military project to create a nuclear-equipped tank called the Shagohod, which could end the Cold War. Although Snake locates Sokolov, the mission falls apart when Boss appears before him and announces her intention to defect to the USSR. The Cobra unit, a special forces unit led by Boss, recaptures Sokolov for their new benefactor, Russian officer Colonel Volgin, an electricity-controlling GRU intelligence colonel and member of the extremist Brezhnev faction, who are attempting to overthrow Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev to seize power for Soviet politicians Leonid Brezhnev and Alexei Kosygin. Boss defeats Snake using CQC, or Close Quarters Combat, a military combat technique the two invented together, seriously injuring him and leaving him for dead. Volgin swiftly captures the Shagohod, which was being tested in the region, and uses a Davy Crockett nuclear shell supplied by Boss to destroy its research facility and cover up the theft. The injured Snake performs emergency field surgery on himself with guidance from Paramedic, and is recovered moments after the nuclear blast via Fulton Extraction, the Surface-to-Air Recovery System, or STARS, involving a harness and self-inflating balloon with an attached lift line picked up by a plane as it flies by. In the aftermath of the destruction, the Soviet Union accuses the United States of the attack after detecting their aircraft over Selino-Yarsk. To avoid a nuclear war, Khrushchev, who suspects Volgin's involvement, agrees to let US President Lyndon B. Johnson prove the US's innocence. Snake, finding himself assigned by Zero to assist in this matter, is ordered to complete Operation Snake Eater, which comprises 3 objectives: stop Volgin's faction, destroy the Shagohod, and eliminate Boss. Redeployed into Selino-Yarsk to fulfill these demands, Snake's first sent to meet with NSA agent Adam, who defected to the Soviet Union to infiltrate Volgin's ranks with his fellow agent Eva, but Snake is instead met and assisted by Eva, who directs him to a lab where Sokolov was taken. Snake survives encounters with Ocelot, the young commander of the elite Ocelot unit within Volgin's GRU, and eliminates the Pain, one of the Cobras who can control Hornets to both defend himself and attack his enemies. Snake reaches the lab and meets Sokolov's rival Soviet weapons scientist Alexander Granin, whose conceptualization of a bipedal tank has been shunned in favor of the Shagohod. Dejected, Granin reveals that Sokolov and the Shagohod are located in Volgin's military fortress, Groznygrad. Snake eliminates the remaining Cobra members: the Fear, who has supernatural flexibility and agility, the End, a venerable expert sniper credited as the father of modern sniping, and the Fury, a disfigured former cosmonaut armed with a flamethrower and a jetpack. At Groznygrad, Volgin suspects a spy in his midst and kills Granin during interrogation before Snake infiltrates the base and finds Sokolov, but is then captured himself after again being bested by Boss. Volgin beats Sokolov to death and tortures Snake, who loses an eye while protecting a disguised Eva from Ocelot's gunshot after suspecting her of being the spy. Snake's imprisoned but escapes, nearly drowning in the process, causing a near-death encounter with the Ghost of the Sorrow, a Cobra member who was a spirit medium soldier able to talk to the souls of the dead before he was killed by Boss. Snake returns to Groznygrad to destroy the Shagohod and its weapons hangar, but is confronted by Volgin, Boss, and Ocelot, having uncovered proof that Eva is the spy and captured her. Volgin informs Snake of the Philosophers, a secret organization of the most powerful figures in the United States, Soviet Union, and China, who formed a pact to win World War II and create a new world order. The group jointly amassed a fund of $100 billion, called the Philosopher's Legacy, to finance their research and operations. However, after the war, the organization began to infight and fell apart, with the legacy divided and hidden in banks across the world. Volgin illegally inherited this money from his deceased father, Boris Volgin, a military officer and the Philosopher's treasurer, who stole it for the Soviet Union's benefit, and Snake learns that the US is attempting to retrieve it. Snake defeats Volgin, destroys the hangar, and escapes with Eva on her motorcycle, but Volgin pursues them in the Shagohod, forcing them to fight their way past many soldiers and Ocelot before disabling the Shagohod and again defeating Volgin, who's seemingly killed by a bolt of lightning. Snake and Eva then flee towards a lake, where she hid a wing-and-ground, or WIG, aircraft for their escape, and while she prepares it for takeoff, Snake confronts Boss one last time, defeating her in a final battle, with her then giving him the microfilm containing all of the accounts information of the Legacy Fund before he reluctantly kills her to complete his mission. Snake and Eva encounter Ocelot one last time before escaping to Alaska, where they spend the night together. Eva disappears before morning with the microfilm, and leaves a tape revealing that she's not the real Eva, but instead a Chinese spy sent to steal the Legacy for China. She also reveals that Boss didn't defect, but was ordered to infiltrate Volgan's ranks to find the Legacy and bring it back to America. However, because of Volgan's nuclear attack, Boss had to be seen as a traitor and allow herself to die at the hands of Snake to prove the US's innocence. A demoralized Snake is awarded the title of Big Boss and given the Distinguished Service Cross, or DSC, a military award decoration for valor by President Johnson. In Arlington National Cemetery, Snake adorns Boss's unmarked gravestone and tearfully salutes her. Ocelot telephones the Soviet Union's KGB intelligence chief director to suggest that the KGB use the knowledge of the Virtuous and Operation Snake Eater missions to blackmail the United States during future negotiations. Ocelot then informs the US director of the CIA that the Legacy microfilm stolen by the Chinese imposter Eva was a fake, and that half of the Legacy Fund is now in America's hands, with the other half held by the KGB, revealing himself as Adam.